Right, we're back again. We are live. New show today. Conversations for another day. Good evening, everyone. Smash a like on the vid and subscribe if you're new around here. Share it across the socials as well: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Let's get it out there. Right. So, just wait for a few to come. After attending the protest in Manchester last Saturday, I'll be discussing the context of the whole movement, talking about the history of white supremacy and the cure for racism. Bit of context. So for almost 9 long, unforgettable minutes, the life seeps out of George Floyd as a police officer murdered him by kneeling into his neck. He struggled to breathe and asked for his mum. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. The independent autopsy, if she needed one, states that George was killed by homicide caused by asphyxia due to neck and back compression that led to a lack of blood flow to the brain. Global outrage followed, and it was powerful, the biggest movement in history. And we're not done yet, not by a long shot. So I'm going to show you guys some footage from Saturday. Have a look at these pictures. That's the thumbnail we used for the video today. But yeah, here's some footage for you guys.
Fuck Boris! Fuck the Tories! Fuck the Tories! Fuck the Tories! Fuck the Tories' policies!
There's the first one. Against the government. Show of solidarity there while the poem was played.
I can't breathe! 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 No justice! No justice! No justice!
I think it's safe to say we brought the noise. So let us know, did you attend a protest near you? Comment below. And I'm going to bring in Sam, who joined me on Saturday. Let's see if we can get him on here. How you doing, Sam? Can you hear me?
I can, mate. How are you?
Yes, mate. Not too bad, not too bad. You keeping all right?
I am, mate. How are you? You everything all right with you?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, week off work this week, so more time to focus on this. But yeah, obviously, yourself messaged me midweek last week to come with on Saturday. How did you find it?
I found it quite moving. I was quite proud to be part of something bigger. As well for myself, it's a point where I'm educating myself each and every day on the subject. I don't claim to know everything about it. And it's something that I'm learning about each and every day. One of the greatest things that I've seen in the last week or so is I was talking to you about it, where I seen a banner and it was, "I understand that I will never understand. However, I stand." And I think that's my viewpoint on the whole thing. That I'll never know how it feels, but if I can do something I can do to help and be part of something, then I'd like to do that.
This is, yeah, if we can change our generation's mindset and the ones to come as well, our kids and their kids, slowly, I think that is the way we're going to eradicate this, and ultimately that's what I'm going to come on to. But yeah, nice one for giving your thoughts. Appreciate your time today, mate. I'll catch you next time. We're doing a football one. We're going to release that next week as football is back. But yeah,
Brilliant.
nice one, mate. You too, take care.
All right, mate. Take care. See you soon, mate.
Bye. a few people have asked me about the protests on Saturday before and after I went, and about social distancing. Obviously, everyone did their best to keep 2 meters apart from each other. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting 15,000 to turn out, which was beautiful in and of itself. But because obviously only a few hundred people turned up on the week before on the Sunday. But I think it's important that we don't move away from what we're really trying to achieve here, and we stop trying to pick apart every single detail of every single strategy every time there's a protest, and we try and support people and understand why they're willing to essentially, especially in these circumstances, put their lives on the line. We all know about COVID and the risk it poses, and yet even still millions around the world turned out to support the greater cause and fight for the biggest injustice of all, inequality. For me and many others, this injustice that has spanned generations and the endeavour to overcome that means that the reward will be worth the risk. I and many others are willing to risk it if that's what it takes, and hopefully you are too. And if each of us can inspire even one other person, then we'll be doing good. Now, this isn't a monologue, but a dialogue. Get involved. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you attend a protest? If not, why not? Let's get some tweets up on the screen that I've seen throughout the last week. This one here from Mark D. McCoy. It's caught on 2 million likes. So George Floyd and I were both arrested for allegedly spending a counterfeit $20 bill. For George Floyd, a man my age with 2 kids, it was a death sentence. For me, it's a story I sometimes tell at parties. That, my friends, is white privilege. A bit about racism as well from George Monbiot. Racism became prevalent because it was required to justify slavery and the theft of land, labour and resources by colonialism. Today, it assists voter suppression, economic and civic exclusion, real estate grabs and mass incarceration. It has always been driven by power and greed. And one more, his thread from that previous. Racism is often portrayed in the media as the preserve of knuckle-dragging far-right thugs, but these are just its foot soldiers. It's a systemic institutional result of an exploitative economy that commodifies and devalues human life. And the bottom one, we stand together against a system that devalues us all, against murders that degrade the lives of all. We're going to do a separate video on the police. But yeah, let's talk about white supremacy in its historical context. So 600 years ago, white supremacy wasn't a thing. There were just people from all over the world. Then the Europeans began exploring in their ships. They got greedy, and in 1455, the Roman Catholic Church split and made a law giving Portugal the right to the west coast of Africa to enslave them, rape, rob, and steal from them, getting their gold and land and whatever else they could get their hands on. In 1526, the first slave ship landed in Brazil. There's a depiction of the settings back then. So white supremacy began to justify that greed, and the lie they tell everyone is that the real reason they colonized virtually every country on earth was to drill civilization into them. The Portuguese, the Dutch, the British, amongst others, are all guilty. And here we are 600 years later, and what's really changed? Jane Elliott, an advocate for anti-racism, said, "White people are terrified." There's a book called The Birth Dearth by Ben Wattenberg in 1987, so only about 30 odd years ago. He was a member of the American Enterprise Institute, who said, "The main problem in the US today is there aren't enough white babies being born." He was an advisor to the President of the United States, and he goes on today that if we don't change this and change it rapidly, white people will lose their numerical majority in this country, and it will no longer be a white man's land. So they literally believe they're superior because of the lack of melanin in their skin. And the whites are scared to death now, she says, that they're going to lose their power. And that's all this is about to them, power and money, but mostly power. Economics, privilege, and dominance, that is white supremacism. Countries built exclusively for white people and for white people to thrive. Whites are not killed if they walk alone, walk home, plan a party, ask the police a question, cash a check, take out their wallet, hold a hairbrush, play loud music, ask for help whilst they sleep, shop at Walmart, run, go to church, get a traffic ticket, CDs lawfully carry a weapon, go jogging, look out their window, read a book, stand next to their car, or hold alleged counterfeit cash. But blacks are, and they were. As a caller said on the topic of racism is business. For centuries, it's underpinned global economic exploitation. And like any successful business, it requires good marketing and advertising. And so when I overheard a conversation between colleagues, they were discussing what George Floyd was initially restrained for. And one person said, it was probably drugs. And the others in the group were like, yeah. I couldn't be shocked or angry, just disappointed. Even though black people are not the ones that own the multi-billion-dollar drug industries, those colleagues have been indoctrinated like millions of others into thinking that it's the young working-class black men that are the initiators of it. And it's a statistical fact that white people use more drugs than black people. And it's also a fact that black people are 6 times more likely to be stopped and searched for drugs. Figure that one out. The idea that white is right has taken root globally to the degree whereby skin bleaching has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Stats compiled by the WHO in 2011 showed that 40% of African women bleach their skin. In some countries, the figure is higher. You've got 77% of women in Nigeria, 59% in Togo, 35% in South Africa, 27% in Senegal, 25% in Mali that use skin lightening products. God knows what those figures are today, nearly a decade later. And I remember throughout my time in education, from primary school through to university, my foreign-sounding name, and first name and surname, causing unnecessary anxiety. Having to pronounce both every single time for each person was tiring. These lands, the UK and the US, to name a couple, are built on blood, stolen resources. The lives of so many have fallen to the empire, and we'll do a separate video on the empire. Britain's literally invaded every country on earth. There's literally a map showing it. Now, what's the cure? So, a Hirschfeld study from 2008 shows that children as young as 2 use race to reason about people's behaviors. So we don't want to hear that, oh, they're too young, it's too early. Silence can reinforce racism by letting children draw their own conclusions. By 30 months, most children use race to choose playmates. That's from Katz and Kofkin's study, not from 1997. Expressions of racial prejudice often peak about ages 4 and 5. Black and Latino children in research settings show no preference towards their own groups as compared to, you guessed it, white people, white kids, who are more likely to be strongly biased in favor of whiteness. And this problem that white parents and institutions have to address now. Bronson and Merriman from 2009, their study, suggests that explicit conversations with 5 to 7-year-olds about interracial friendship can dramatically improve their racial attitudes in as little as a week. A week, 7 days, that's it. Individuals can change attitudes in homes. Homes can change cities. Cities can change countries. Countries change the world. And that's the cure. Everyone's asking how can eradicate racism. Education is the antidote. Now let's get some quotes from famous pioneers throughout history. So Haile Selassie, former emperor of Ethiopia, he said, throughout history, it's been the inaction of those who could have acted, the indifference of those who should have known better, the silence of the voice of justice when it mattered most, that has made it possible for evil to triumph. This is why we say silence is deafening. We need everyone to work on this to combat, especially in our generation, to combat this. The great Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And Nelson Mandela said, as long as injustice and gross inequality persist in our world, none of us can truly rest. And Robert F. Kennedy, brother of John, said, each time a person stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. If we can all create our own little ripple, eventually there'll be a big wave. those that are racist, they know they're in the wrong. They all know they're wrong. They know that obviously they are uneducated, and it's for us to try and help them where we can. But a lot of them are ignorant to the facts, and some of them don't want to learn. So let's not waste too much energy on those. We're not out here trying to change the beliefs of 50-year-old borderline racists. We haven't got that much energy. We should focus on our own houses, educating our friends and families that are the ones that are closest to us, but mainly on the younger generation. Our kids, our cousins, our nieces, our nephews, because education is the antidote. It's not enough to just not be racist and sit on your hands and think it's going to go away. We all need to be actively anti-racist. Otherwise, this will persist for generations to come. I'm going to start spreading the new hashtag change the curriculum everywhere. And I hope you will too, because this is the cure. Educate, eliminate racism, save lives, based on the government's latest advice, the template. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the vid, comment with your thoughts on how we can tackle this pandemic, and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video everywhere. Get it everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. This is not a moment, it's a movement, and we're just getting started. See you next time.